Yes, people, what's happening? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to another live stream and your daily transfer update. And there is plenty of news to get into as always. Man United supposedly opened the bidding for Mason Mount at £50 million. There's been no contact from Real Madrid for Kai Havertz yet, but Chelsea are expected to demand between 43 to 51 million pounds, including bonuses, according to Sky in Germany. The Ugarte deal not quite done yet. Reports in Portugal might have been slightly premature going early saying it's done, but Chelsea are in Portugal today looking to get that deal finalised. Got the latest on the future of Maatsen as well. Chelsea will be looking to sell him potentially for in excess of £20 million, plus all the latest on your centre forwards and everything else. But yeah, guys, Dharmesh will be in the house in about 10 minutes or so, so he'll be joining me. But yeah, people, get involved in the chat, get amongst it, smash the likes on the stream, subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. And let's get this show on the road. Let's start with the Mason Mount news. And obviously him, like many players, have been out at the F1 in Barcelona today. He was asked about, he wasn't asked about his future, but he was kind of stitched up a little bit on the grid, but he didn't mention anything of it. But report in a Telegraph suggesting that Manchester United are going to bid £50 million for Mason Mount. Now, that is a first bid. It's more than likely going to be rejected. Chelsea insist that they're holding out for around 70 to 75 million pounds, which I think we are going to struggle to get for Mason Mount if he does end up leaving. 1 year left in his contract. Yes, he's 24. Yes, he's English. Yes, you know, we're selling to a rival and whatnot, and that could potentially push that price up. But ultimately, you know, I think we're going to struggle to get that. I think we could end up in somewhere in the region of around 60 million pounds, maybe 70 million pounds all in with add-ons, bonuses, and all that sort of stuff. Obviously, that first bid from United hasn't come in as of yet, but that's going to be imminent. And it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. It's going to be interesting to see how, you know, how long it takes, how protracted it is, whether Mason Mount's got any chance whatsoever of staying at Chelsea. I mean, are those contract talks completely dead and buried? Are they completely off the table now? Are we going to try and, you know, re-enter talks with Mount? I wonder what the situation is at the club right now with that, because obviously, as I said, Mount was at the F1 today. He's on holiday. I don't know if his reps are in contact with Chelsea or not right now, but something needs to be agreed pretty soonish, because ultimately we want to get as many of these player sales done before the end of the month as we possibly can. We don't want this saga to be dragging on into the coming months, into July, certainly for the rest of this month. So we need to get this business done as quickly as possible. But I don't know, there could still be an outside chance that maybe Mount does stay at Chelsea, but it seems to me like there's kind of a lot of water under the bridge in terms of Mount and the contract negotiations. We obviously had the issues with a deal being agreed, and then after the World Cup, that deal was removed, or it was altered, and it wasn't what they agreed. And then there's been nothing offered since February. It's only been a 1 year extension with a significant pay rise. But you know, you're not going to sign a 1 year extension at 24 years of age, are you? So you know, the club, supposedly the club wants to keep Mount. Pochettino wants him to stay as well. So I'm not too sure what the issues are, and it isn't helpful that we've got kind of, you know, briefings coming out that, oh, you know, the club are doing everything, and then you've got briefings coming out saying that other club have changed the offer for Mount, and you're not really sure what side to believe. You know, some clarity on the situation would be ideal, rather than briefings that just, you know, suit one side or paint one side in a better light, and then it's just PR and saving face at this point in time. So yeah, we do need to get to the bottom of this and find out why this is happening, because I still can't understand why this is so difficult to get sorted out, because, you know, it should be, in theory, it should be one of the easiest contracts to sort out at Chelsea. A guy that's been here since 8 years of age at the club, loves the club, you know, has done so much for the club. Obviously, this season's been shocking, but he's contributed a lot, and has been a key member of our recent success, Champions League, and all that. And yet it seems like this deal is really difficult to do for whatever reason. You know, we've seen the likes of Reece James extend, we've seen Thiago Silva extend, we've seen Chalobah, Chilwell, Broja, all these guys sign extensions with no issues at all. And yet the Mount one seems to be issues galore. Like we can't seem to get it. We can't seem to get it right. We're not too sure what's really going on. And it's an interesting one. And I don't know how long this is going to take to sort out, but ultimately the club do need to raise £100 million by the end of this month. Transfer window doesn't actually officially open until June the 14th, but it doesn't mean that you can't agree to sell players. It doesn't mean that you can't agree to bring players and you just can't register them until that point in time. But the Mount situation, there's not really anything different other than we know that Man United are going to bid. We know that Chelsea will reject this £50 million, but it depends what Mount wants as well. Yes, he'd be happy to join Man United, but does he desperately want to join them? Is he dead set on leaving Chelsea? And these are the questions that we don't have the answers to right now. Let's get into a few bits in the chat, people. Daniel, thank you for tuning in as always. Brother, thank you. Doing my best, trying to show up every single day and hope it makes a difference. And yeah, couldn't do it without you guys in the chat. So massively appreciate all of the support. And guys, make sure you get involved in the chat. Make sure you get involved. Chelsea should try and get more money than Mount. I don't really understand more money for him. Look, to be honest, I don't think we can get any more than 65 million tops. He's got 1 year left on his contract. That is a pretty good deal, if we're being honest. This is going to be a massive month for Chelsea. We all know a lot by July 1st when Poch officially starts. Yeah, no, we will. We will. And it's great to see already that, big decisions are being made. Business seems to be moving along quickly. We've already, a couple of weeks before the window even opens, we've got multiple players that are very close to leaving the club. We're very close to bringing Manuel Ugarte in through the door. So it's already great to see that, we are getting business done, or we're getting the wheels in motion for business to be done this month. This month, as you said, Shano, this is going to be a really important month for the club. There's no two ways about it that June is massive because, as I said, of the FFP and the 100 million that we need to raise, which is not going to be a problem with the players that you've got to sell. But ultimately, until they're out the door and that money's in the bank account, it's going to be a slight issue. And it's funny how the media were saying that, Chelsea are going to really struggle to get rid of so many players. Who's going to take these players and all that sort of stuff. But actually, the reality is there's a lot of interest in these players. Yes, teams will try and lowball us with offers because they know that they know we have to sell players and we need to sell players. But I still think we can get, for most players that are looking to go out the door, I still think we can get pretty decent money for these guys back in. I don't know where I stand really with the academy side of things in terms of selling the academy stars. Look, make one thing abundantly clear is that not every single academy player is going to be good enough to play for the first team. This purpose of the academy is twofold. It's to produce players good enough for the first team, and it's also to make money for the football club as well. That's the reality. Only a certain amount of players are going to be good enough to make it from the academy. For so many years, it was just John Terry, but we've been blessed in the last few years. We've had the likes of Mount, James, Chalobah, Loftus-Cheek, Hudson-Odoi, to name a few, Reece James as well. But obviously not every single one's going to be good enough. And that's the reality, and these guys unfortunately offer pure profit on the books, and that's what we need. It's good for the accounting, and ultimately as well, the young English lads are going to get you probably the biggest fees in the transfer market, and that's kind of the reality of the situation, which is a little bit of a shame. Nick, big up my guy. Agreed on that one. Yeah, guys, as Nick said, smash the likes. I don't know how many we're on right now. We are on 19. Let's get this to at least 50 likes, people. Let's set it at 50 likes to begin with. Let's see if we can surpass last night's 100 likes, guys. It was a great stream last night. Let's make tonight another great show, people. So keep smashing those likes and subscribe if you're new around here as well. There's nothing interesting about United's project at all. Maybe if they get Rice and Kane, but I doubt it. Yeah, I can't see United getting Rice and Kane. Right now they haven't got the money to do that. We don't know what's going on with the takeover there. But I would be shocked if they got Mount, Rice, and Kane. I simply can't see that. I think if Rice is going to go anywhere in the Premier League, unfortunately, it is going to be Arsenal, which would be a massive shame. Let's just hope that maybe he goes to Bayern Munich instead, because I'd much rather him head to Bayern Munich than head to a Premier League rival, because that's going to it's going to strengthen them massively. And I would have loved Declan Rice at Chelsea, but yeah, it's not to be. Yeah, I agree on the United thing. Yes, they had a good season, come third, and they won a trophy and whatnot. But ultimately, the team's not that good. You can't really see where the project's necessarily going. They're still a million miles away from challenging for the league. Yes, they made 2 cup finals, and whatnot. But I look at it, and it's going to be slightly biased, of course, but the Chelsea project over the next few years, for me, is a lot more attractive than the Manchester United project is. Of course, it's Man United, it's history, it's one of the biggest football clubs in the world. So yeah, there's going to be that certain allure to it and that certain pull to it. But I'd find it, I don't know if troubling is the right word, but I find it frustrating that Mount would potentially rather go to Manchester United than stay at Chelsea? Like, why? What would the reasons for that be? It has to be a breakdown in relationship between himself and the board, or something along those lines. Because there's no way that we should be losing an academy star from Chelsea before he's reached the prime age in his career to Manchester United. Like, that just shouldn't be happening. And I'd love to know the reasons as to why that would be happening as well. So yeah, it'd be interesting to know. But ultimately, I think we will eventually get the truth into the situation. Let's just hope that this Mount saga doesn't drag on for too much longer, because in all honesty, it's boring for myself. It's boring for all of us as fans. There's no real updates. We're just waiting to see what happens. Obviously, we know the club will reject this bid. And then we just kind of move from there in the coming days and weeks, and we see what's happening. I hope we get Agate deal done this week, and I think this week's going to be big for the Agate deal. We should hear something hopefully in the first few days of this coming week. I would keep Mount. He has shown capacity to perform on a weekly basis, unlike Havertz. Agreed on that one. I would definitely also I would keep Mount over Havertz. I think he offers more value and has proven that on a consistent basis he can perform in a Chelsea shirt, whereas Havertz hasn't shown that and doesn't look like showing that at all. Maatsen, I'll put a buyback clause if we sell him. Yeah, maybe. I'm not too sure. I'll get onto the Maatsen stuff shortly. Jonathan, big up my guy. Thank you for tuning in. And Dharmesh is in the house. Bro, thank you for coming, mate. Massively appreciate it. Yeah, just been going for a little bit of Mason Mount stuff for a change. Nice and exciting, mate. How are you doing anyway, bro? You good? And what have you made of kind of all the goings on at the moment at Chelsea in the transfer market? Because officially the window doesn't open until the 14th of June, and it feels like already, with literally the season finished a week ago today, and already it seems like so much is going on. What have you made of it all so far? Before I get your thoughts on the Mount situation individually.
Yeah, big up Charlie, big up the chat as well. Thanks for having me on again, bro. And yeah, man, I know it's already been a week, and we're just like this amount of news that's coming out already. And like you said, the transfer window has even opened, and it just shows how determined I think the owners are to sort of put things right after a catastrophic sort of like 12 months in charge of the football club in terms of getting the management of side things wrong, potentially signings as well. So I think they've kind of learned from last year to not leave it too late in a sense, especially over the summer, by trying to get those sort of like transfer stuff done early, the manager situation early as well. And yeah, I mean, yeah, the Mason Mount stuff, I know we've been going on about this since God knows how long, since maybe like the start of the season, to be honest, has been going on. But
it's a long time.
Yeah. But yeah, it obviously looks like Mason Mount's going to possibly join Manchester United. We obviously don't know the fee. There's obviously other outgoings as well. We've already had about 4 or 5 outgoings already. Due John Sterling, gone. Ruben Loftus-Cheek, also gone. Aubameyang looking like out the door as well. Mateo Kovacic, another one as well. So yeah, I mean, yeah, like you said, a lot can happen in a week, man. And who knows where we'll be this time next week. We might have obviously a signing through the door, which I'm sure you'll touch upon later on. And there might be a couple of outgoings as well, with obviously, as I mentioned, Mason Mount. And yeah, I'm sure you'll get onto sort of Kai Havertz as well. But yeah, it's been crazy. And but big up Shane and big up John as well for the comments.
Mate,
Appreciate
it. Has been, yeah, mate, it's been mad. It feels like it's been a long week. It feels like a lot's happened. Like, it's mad that it's only been a week since the season finished. As I said, so much has been packed into this week, and there's going to be so much more to come because, you know, as we know at Chelsea, there's always something going on, whether it's on the pitch, off the pitch, transfer market, incomings, outcomings. In terms of a fee for Mount, if Mount were to leave, which is still kind of up in the air, yes, it's looking more likely than not. But if that, what I mean, Chelsea wanting, I mean, some reports are saying as much as 85 million pounds. That's obviously not going to be happening for someone with 1 year left on the contract. We know that United, the 50 million pound bid will be turned down. What do you think is an acceptable price for Mount? Because for me personally, I think the club will look at it, and I think if they got anywhere between 60 to 65 million pounds all in, I think you can't, if he doesn't want to be here, then you can't say no to that money with 1 year left on the contract. You know, you're not going to get much more than that.
Yeah, obviously, Reid. I mean, like, optimistically, we want that sort of 75, 80 million for him. But like you said, I highly doubt Manchester United aren't stupid enough to pay that sort of money for Mason Mount. But given their track record in the past, they have shown that they're capable of doing something like that. But I think, yeah, the range that you said, 60 to 65 million, I'll be pretty pleased with in terms of Mason Mount. I think anything below 50, I'll be gutted about. But I think we definitely have to get at least 50 million or above for him, because he's definitely one of our sort of like sellable assets, and we know the problems we have with FFP and stuff. And to balance all that out, it's just gonna this sell of Mason Mount, obviously the other common graduates as well, is going to make a difference for us, to be honest, in terms of whether we can buy new players and obviously balance the books a little bit as well. But yeah, I'd expect at least 60 to 65 million.
Yeah, mate, I would agree on that. Let's wait and see how this one plays out ultimately. You know, obviously I've said a lot on this. There's not really too much more to add, other than it's a real shame that we kind of seem to be in this situation. I don't really know how we've ended up in this situation. I mean, Dharmesh, how would you feel about Mount leaving? How do you feel that about it? Because it looks like it's a lot closer to being a reality than him obviously signing and staying. Obviously, never say never in football, and never say never with Chelsea. But I mean, how would you feel about him going?
I think with Mason Mount, I've always kind of said that I wouldn't be too disappointed if he left the club. Like, he's definitely replaceable, and I keep going on about how we've lost bigger players in the past and we've been okay.
Yeah.
And I think if we do lose Mason Mount, I do think we'll be okay. I'm not going to sit here and sort of slate him off in terms of call him out for, obviously the performances on the pitch have been good this season, but the amount of like, what I'm trying to say is I won't call him out in terms of hating the guy in the way, because I don't really feel that way about any of our players. Obviously, there's some players that I don't think are good enough for the football club, and some that I think don't have a future here, especially under the manager. And I certainly see Mason Mount as one of those players, but I don't see a future for him under the manager that we currently have. So yeah, I mean, I sort of wish him well personally wherever he goes. Obviously, it's not good him going to a rival thing. That makes it a little bit more sour in a way. But I do trust our ownership, and I do trust our Poch to get the best out of the new signings or the new players that we have in the team. And yeah, I mean, 65 million for Mason Mount is brilliant business in my opinion as well. So yeah, thanks for everything that he's done for us. I mean, even with the dark times under Lampard, I thought he was one of the shining lights, and especially in the first season, I thought he was quality. Second season, Mount was okay, I guess, but it wasn't as good as he was in his first season. Obviously, part of the Champions League winning squad, provided that assist for Havertz as well. And yeah, I'm grateful for the memory that he gave in terms of that. But yeah, I mean, if it's time to move on, it's time to move on. Like, put it this way, out of Mount and Havertz, like, I'm more happy about Havertz leaving than Mason Mount, to be honest. And that's like, I want them both gone anyway, Mount and Havertz. That's just my opinion. But I'll be more happy about Havertz going than Mason Mount, to be honest.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And let's just wait and see what happens on this one. I think there could still be a few final twists and turns here in this saga. But let's move away from Mason Mount now. Let's move on to another one in Kai Havertz, who could be on his way out of Stamford Bridge as well. We had reports in Germany from Bild, a very respectable publication, saying that, you know, a deal for Kai Havertz to Real Madrid could be done very quickly. But as of yet, you know, we know that Ancelotti's a big admirer of him, and obviously Real Madrid like him as well. They tried to sign him back when we actually got him. But Fabrizio is saying that Madrid want Kai Havertz. He's a top target for Ancelotti, but there's been no direct contact between the clubs. Chelsea are open to selling Havertz, but they want what Fabrizio says is important money. Talks are expected to take place soon. Mate, what are your thoughts on Kai Havertz to Real Madrid? Do you think it's right now, 3 years in, that we do get a half decent offer, that we probably look to part ways? I think that's kind of the general feeling amongst the fan base, is that, you know, Havertz is a talented boy, but with 3 years in now, we've got a large sample size. There's been no consistency at all. And he's massively under-delivered, and it probably is best to get what money we can. I think he's got 2 years left on the contract, and just move on.
Yeah, I mean, as I just sort of said, like, out of Mount and Havertz, I'm more happy about Havertz going, to us, because I've honestly I've seen nothing from him. Apart, everyone goes back to that Champions League goal. Yeah, fair enough. But apart from that, when has he ever sort of turned up consistently for us? I don't honestly remember. And how much do we pay for him? Did we pay 70 million for him?
Yeah, 70 million. I mean, it could have been a
Yeah,
bit more with some add-ons and stuff, but
exactly. And looking at that price, like, has he lived up to it? No, definitely not.
no.
And if we can somehow get even sort of half of that feedback, I think it'll be great business. I mean, the talk of the town is what, over 50 million for Havertz, around the
Well,
same price as Mason Mount. So
well, supposedly, like according to Sky in Germany, Chelsea would be prepared to accept between 43 to 51 million pounds with add-ons. Um, I mean,
not
look, I
bad.
think if he got something around the 50 million pound mark for Havertz, I think you have to take it. I don't think.
Yeah,
I mean, normally you would expect a player that was in his early 20s with his peak years ahead of him, probably to have at least maintained all of that value or increased it. But the reality is that Havertz's value has definitely got lower now. There's no two ways about it.
yeah.
There's no way he's worth what we bought him for, because he hasn't done anything in these 3 years to justify the money that we spent on him. Ultimately, why do you feel it's not worked out for Havertz at Chelsea? Because it's been an interesting one. Because I mean, I perhaps personally for myself put it down to a number of things. Is that we just didn't think about how he'd fit into the team. We didn't think about, whether he'd be right for Chelsea. It was just one of those where, as we did so often under Roman, is like we just signed a player because, they were good without actually thinking about anything else about how they might fit into the team. And I think Havertz has been another example of that. Yes, he's had good moments here and there, zero consistency. And he's really struggled. He says that he can play anywhere across the front line, but looks equally hopeless in all the positions across the front. Every time he has a good game, he then follows it up with a load of shit ones. And just as you think he's about to turn a corner, he just reverts back to type. I mean, what do you feel are the reasons why this just hasn't worked out?
I think it's the speed, the intensity, and I think the physicality of the Premier League. I just don't think he's a Premier League player, to be honest. We've seen loads of players come to the Premier League and sort of not deliver, but then go to other leagues and just completely smash it. And I think Havertz will be um, that kind of player. I think once he leaves Chelsea, I think he'll do well in another league. I think obviously if he does go to Real Madrid, in my opinion, I think he'll do pretty decent at
Yeah,
Madrid. I think given the style of play that Real Madrid play, the sort of like slowness of the league, because I wouldn't say La Liga is too much of a fast league. I know it can be sort of physical, but it's not fast in a way.
it's a
It's
lot
more
slower than a
sort of
Premier League.
controlled. And I think Havertz's ability will really, I think, will sort of shine because there's no doubt he's got ability as a footballer. I mean, like we've seen the sort of like technical ability he has with his passing, his dribbling at times, even in little moments. I know obviously he hasn't. It's not like say like a David Silva where David Silva used to just boss the Premier League in terms of his um his physicality. Even though it was a small guy, it was quite strong for the Premier League. His dribbling, his passing, and everything, his shooting as well. But I think Havertz is just one of those players who's just not for the Premier League. I think, and yeah, I mean, did he get the move to Chelsea a bit too soon? I think so. Yes, looking back on it, I think maybe he should have
Yeah,
gone
maybe.
elsewhere first. Like, let's just say, for example, at the time he should have gone to maybe a Leicester City, for example, where they were sort of pushing the European positions at the time. But then, and then see how he did, and then potentially move on to a bigger club like Chelsea. And maybe the Chelsea move came too soon for him, I think, or he should have gone to a different league and tried that out first. But I mean, yeah, if the biggest club calling for you, then why aren't you going to go? That goes for any player, to be honest. So,
He
and
had, he had, he had big teams interested in him as well. He had
yeah,
the
and
likes
obviously it
of
was during the
Real
COVID
Madrid.
year where obviously we had the transfer ban, so we were quite fortunate to obviously
Yeah,
afford Havertz, us in Madrid, and obviously he picked us
mate.
at the time because of Lampard as well.
Yeah,
Lampard was a
I
huge
mean,
factor in that as well.
in normal circumstances, like we wouldn't have been able to put together the money that Real Madrid could have offered him, or potentially Bayern Munich as well. So I think we're fortuitous to get him under the COVID scenario, and the fact that it was off the back of a transfer ban window. So we had obviously saved some money there as well. But I mean, in terms of a fee, 2 years left on his contract. What would you think is acceptable for Chelsea? Obviously, you very rarely accept the first bid, but I mean, for me, honestly, mate, if we got anywhere but anything upwards of £50 million, we have to take it.
Yeah, I mean, I said before, if it's the same price as we get for Mason Mount, then yeah, happy days. Obviously, the more we get for both, the better. But realistically, if we're talking between 50 and 65, I'll be happy with that, to be honest. And yeah, I mean, it's time to let go of these players, man, because if we want to move forward as a as a football club as well, get back to the old days. We have to be ruthless with these kind of players, man. Like, obviously, you give players a year to settle in, but or maybe a year and a half, but which I did give at the time Havertz. I thought, okay, first season, settling in and stuff. Let's see how he does second and third season, but he's just shown nothing. And even the sort of second half of the season, Havertz form that people go on about, like, realistically, he didn't do much. He maybe got 2 or 3 goals.
And a few good games here and there.
That's it. But he didn't show any sort of
no
consistent form. And yeah, I mean, he's never been injured for us. He's been a utility player for us in a way where he's played in a lot of positions. So that way, I guess there's both ways to look at it. Where it's fortunate because he's had the chance to play literally anywhere he wants. He's been sort of the focal point for us as well. Like, he's had chances and he's been the main man for us, obviously with the money spent, but yeah, it's definitely time to cut losses with this guy because he's just not good enough. The amount of one-on-ones I see, man, during match days and match games, watching from home or at games, man, you just know that you're not confident Havertz is going to get you at least like 15 to 20 goals a season. He's just not that kind of player.
He's so frustrating, isn't he? Because every time he does something good and you think this could be the turning point, it then doesn't happen. Frustratingly, there really is a small part of me that's just like, shit, I wonder how good he could actually be maybe under Poch if he rotated in that number 10 role within Kunku. He wasn't actually a nailed-on starter and he was just a squad player and he rotated in that 10 role within Kunku. You sort of think, well, could he maybe be all right to do a job there? But then the reality of the situation is ultimately for me, if he had to stay for whatever reason and he was a rotation option within Kunku in that 10 and he wasn't really a guaranteed starter, he started the odd game here and there, that wouldn't be disastrous and that could still potentially happen maybe. But ultimately, the days of Havertz being a regular starter for Chelsea, they're gone. We've seen nothing in 3 seasons to suggest that he warrants that or to suggest that anything would be any different next season. You just can't keep moving in this cycle where you're just like, oh yeah, well, he might be good. Let's give him one more chance. And then you just keep having the same conversation kind of over and over again. But in terms of, say Havertz did move out the door, that does leave us a little bit short in the attacking areas, doesn't it? We'd have to bring someone else in. Would you agree on that? Because right now we're looking at Ziyech and Pulisic going. Let's say Havertz goes and let's say Mount goes as well. That's 4 players that could do a job across that front line potentially. That leaves us with Mudryk, Madueke and Sterling as the options. We'd have to go and sign someone else that could play as a 10/ a wide man. Obviously it's not top of the priority list in terms of major incomings, but all those players left, that would leave us a little bit short in that area.
Do you know what, bro? Like, you're gonna hate me saying this. I know the chat as well, and I'm gonna hate myself even saying this. But do you think Pochettino potentially sees Gallagher as a 10? Maybe.
Maybe.
It could be possible. I wouldn't like that at all. But...
obviously he played more advanced at Palace when he was on loan there. Obviously, playing for Palace and playing for Chelsea is totally different. But he did play higher up the pitch at Palace, and he did look very good there. Maybe Poch does see him as a 10. I'm not really sure. But let me get to a few things in the chat quickly, mate. Who would you like to see come in as a potential number 10? There's a few shouts of Madison in the chat. Jacob, big up my guy. Thank you for tuning in. Yes, bro. How do you see Mitrovic? I think he's Premier League proven and we should go for him as a cheaper option as well. I feel he's suited to Chelsea. Yeah, possibly. It's a sort of the profile of forward that could do well at the club. In terms of physical, he's PL proven he can score goals. Do you think that moves the needle for Chelsea? Is that the sort of the goal scorer we need that's going to get us the regular goals, that's going to get us competing for the big trophies? Could you see us doing well with Mitrovic and Broja as forward options?
You never know. Maybe it's about time we start going for these lesser names in a way where instead of going for the big names, someone who we don't really expect too much from in a way. I know there'll be expectation of Mitrovic, but not as high as we had for like an Aubameyang or like a Havertz, for example, where we expected them to do well. But you never know. And your question about number 10 is actually interesting because I haven't really thought about any sort of number 10s coming in because I honestly didn't expect us to potentially get rid of Mount, Havertz, and Felix, all 3 of them. So my answer to that is obviously there's James Maddison that's available. That's one of the most popular ones that's out there. There's that Szoboszlai as well. He's at, I believe is it Leipzig or Salzburg?
Sobotskar, the Hungarian. Yeah.
There's him as well. Those are the two that I've been thinking about potentially, but I need to go through my head again of the other sort of.
There's not a lot. Again, like in some of these key positions, there's not a lot of like obvious choices on the market. Like, Maddison not really been linked with Chelsea. Newcastle and Spurs very much seem to be kind of the front runners for his signature. I think he could definitely do a job at Chelsea. Would he want to come to us? Quite possibly. I couldn't be certain on that. But yeah, it's going to be interesting because we are going to need someone else. But again, people say, what about Chukwuemeka? But then if Nkunku got injured, would you really be happy with Chukwuemeka being the main number 10 at Chelsea next season? I don't think many fans would be. So we do need to find someone. And I'd like to think there's some sort of plan with Poch saying he doesn't want Felix, with Mount and Havertz potentially moving out of the club as well. I agree with you, I do hope the plan isn't to just have Gallagher as a backup number 10.
I've got a bad feeling it might be, bro. That's why I said you're going to hate this, and the chat will hate this as well as myself.
I don't know. It could be. Also, the market is different until it comes to us selling players. I think we should milk it as much as we can. Yeah, we obviously need to try and get as much money as we can for our players, but ultimately there are going to be some players where we're just going to have to accept an offer that is a bit less than we personally would like, but we need to get these bodies out the door. What else have we got here? Bundesliga players always worry me in the Prem. Yeah, there's not been that much of a successful hit rate from Bundesliga to Premier League. Well,
just De Bruyne and Haaland, pretty much.
Well, yeah, I mean, those are sort of exceptional players, though, guys that would be a success anywhere. In terms of forward players, though, those two aside, who are just a complete joke. You look at Werner, didn't work. Obviously, Havertz hasn't worked out. Sancho seems to be massively struggling at Man United. Not lived up to the hype that they had at Dortmund. Obviously in some positions, like in midfield and in defence, it's a little bit different. But certainly in those predominant attacking positions, the hit rate's not been that successful, which is a little bit of a worry. I mean, I'm excited to see Nkunku, but there's always that slight worry in the back of your mind. Yeah. I think Havertz would played better with a number 9. I mean, we like this conversation. So. He probably did work a little bit better playing off someone, but we can't build the whole team around Kai Havertz and set everything up perfectly for him because he's not shown anything to deserve that sort of treatment. Yeah, a lot of shouts coming in for Maddison. Maddison would be good. I don't think Leicester wouldn't be able to command too much money for him because of the fact that they've been relegated, so they won't get anywhere near as much. I think Newcastle had a couple of 50 mil bids turned down in January, and I suspect 50 million pounds could be enough to get him again. I think that's the reality now. They've been relegated. By the way, people, over 60 of us in here. Keep smashing the likes on the stream. We're only on 33 likes, guys. Let's get this to 50 likes minimum, and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. So we've had lots of new subscribers recently. So if you're locked in now and you're not subscribed, please do hit that subscribe button, and let's run this up to at least 50 likes, guys. Only 33 so far. So just hover over that thumb button, click it for me. It massively helps me out. I appreciate all the support, and it spreads the stream far and wide. So please make sure you smash the likes. Let's get this up to 50 likes, people, and subscribe if you're new around here as well. Mate, how would you envisage Maddison fitting in? Do you think he could do a good job for us?
Oh, yeah, 100%. Maddison's a quality player, man. I mean, got bundles of Premier League experience. He's been in the Prem now for about 4 years now.
Yeah.
Obviously played in a successful Leicester team. Obviously prior to the season, he was key for them getting European football, key to them winning the FA Cup as well. He knows what it takes to win a trophy, which Tottenham fans can't really relate to. But yeah, there's that as well. And I think Maddison out of the relegation, he's definitely the pick for everyone to go for in a way. And I think he'll fit in well with Poch as well. You can sort of bring that sort of Poch can potentially bring that Dele Alli sort of vibe out of like Maddison potentially.
Possibly, yeah. I mean, that's the sort of thing that I would have been excited for Mason Mount about. You playing him in that Dele Alli role, or playing James Maddison there, or whoever it may be. I'm not really sure who it's going to be. That Ali would sort of play on that right hand side and kind of and drift in. I don't know if Sterling's got that role in his locker. Is Madueke potentially got that role? I'm not really sure. I look at those guys as more out and out wingers. Ali was more of a attacking midfielder, but yeah, there's certainly lots of.
Also, just to add as well, I think one big thing, Maddison has a lot over on other players, his set pieces and corners. So
Really
I think
good.
he's a really good free kick taker, and I think he's a really good corner taker as well. Which at Chelsea, I think we've been lacking a little bit is that sort of number one sort of free kick taker we had for us, or like a corner taker for us. Because I don't, apart from maybe Enzo and Chilwell, like I don't think
Not many good set piece takers.
even with Chilwell's corners, sometimes it's so hit and miss. But I'd rather we have someone like Maddison's proper set piece specialist in a way where we can get the ball nice and whipped into the box for attacking corners and even like free kicks. Like who even takes our free kicks? Like since Alonso's gone, like we haven't really had a good free kick taker, to be honest. So yeah, I think for set pieces especially, I think it'd be good.
Yeah, quite possibly. I mean, McAllister again is a bit of a different profile. It's more of a number 8 sort of profile that we're not really looking for. And to be honest, if we're going to get any midfielder from Brighton, it needs to be Moises Caicedo, and that's the reality of that. I mean, I wouldn't have minded him. I would have been bang up for getting Alexis McAllister, but ultimately, it's not really the profile of midfielder that we're looking for. Thoughts on Stefan Ortega for a goalkeeping option? I know he's City's backup, but he looks decent. He does look decent, but he's back up for a reason. I don't really know if he's good enough to be a number 1 for Chelsea. In all reality, he's a good player. I actually think Bellingham will be really good at Madrid, so I disagree on that one. Mount and Havertz could get us 120 mil easily. Yeah, I do agree on that. I think so. Whatever way you make it up, whether it's 70 and 50, is that 120?
They'll pay for Caicedo and Ugarte, won't it? Pretty much.
Yeah,
right?
pretty much. Pretty much, I would say so.
And that's just from player sales, like we did with Lukaku in a way where remember that summer we sold all those players like Mark Gay, etc.
Yeah, but we basically our net spend was virtually nothing that summer.
Yeah, exactly. So we got 120 million head start.
No, mate. People have asked me about Ward-Prowse before. It's not for me. I just look at him as a bit of a I just look at him as a bit of a set piece merchant. And no disrespect to him, but if we're looking to revamp the midfield and move forward as a football club, signing James Ward-Prowse is not it. It just isn't.
I think as a bench option, I think it's a decent buy to have. If say let's say
is it any better? But is it any better than Conor Gallagher from the bench? It's not really. It's not really, is it?
I'd like to think maybe, but let's just say about 10-15 minutes. If it costs that much to have as like a squad player or a bench player, then yeah, I'd be all over it. But not as a starter. I agree with that. But as sort of like an impact player off the bench potentially, or like a squad player, like.
But if you're going to sign a midfielder from Southampton, surely you would just take Lavia.
Oh yeah, true. Yeah, there's obviously Lavia as well. Yeah. But yeah, out of them two, obviously I take Lavia over Ward-Prowse. But I think as a bench option, I don't think he's actually too bad to have. But yeah,
it's not for me. I'll get onto the goalkeeping situation shortly. Get rid of the deadwood. Absolutely. The EPL is no joke. Players from the Portuguese league do. Yeah, it is mad. The success rate from the Portuguese league to the Premier League is mad good. Luis Diaz, Fernandes. I'm at United, like just to name 2 straight off the top of my head. The success rate from Portugal to Premier League, Enzo as well so far has done really well. It's weird how a league like the Portuguese league, no disrespect to it, how many players do really well coming from there to the Premier League. It is a strange one.
It's a bit similar to the French league, I think, in a way where a lot of French
league's really good as well for success. Really good.
I think they're both similar in terms of like their sort of style of play the teams play as well in both countries. I think that's why. Whereas in Germany, Spain, and like say Italy is a little bit different.
Yeah, for sure. Italy's a lot more of a defensive-minded league. So yeah, I mean, it's certainly interesting. And Portugal and France are really good places to shop. We did make Bellingham look average in the games we played. KSI, man, big up my guy. There's a reason James Ward-Prowse hasn't made a big move yet. Agreed on that.
Yeah.
In Kunku fee rumored to be 53 mil. I think it's around that. He signed a new contract which put a higher release clause in. I think it's around that. I actually can't remember. Mate, John's not liking your Ward-Prowse shout there. Do you think we'll get Ugarte and Caicedo? I think we'll definitely get Ugarte. Caicedo is going to be more tricky. We may have to involve a player in that scenario. And I've said that, yes, I'd love to keep Levi Colwell. But ultimately, if we had to send him on loan for another season as part of the Caicedo deal, that's probably something that I would reluctantly accept. How would you feel about that, bro? Would you? I mean, obviously Colwell's a top player, and we don't want to lose him. But if he had to go on loan for another season to Brighton in order to get Caicedo through the door, would you? Is that something you'd accept?
100%, bro. Like, we've got Benoit Badiashile in that position. I mean, like, Colwell would do well, I think, on another loan as well, build up more sort of Premier League experience. I know he's only had one season and stuff, and I know how good of a player he is, but I think central midfield is so important. And like we both keep saying, bro, Rice or Caicedo, you have to get one of them. And
Yeah,
if
we're
it
not
means
getting Rice.
oh yeah, but obviously that's both what we were saying is either one or the
need
other.
one.
But Levi Cole potentially going back on loan, I think that'll be the best sort of best case, or well, not best case scenario, because obviously best case scenario would be Caicedo comes and we didn't send a player out. But what in terms of one case scenario, I think it's not the worst idea if we send Colwell back and get Caicedo, because the midfield is probably the most important thing we need to strengthen right now. And yeah, that's how I feel about it, to be honest. And we've got cover in that position. We've got Badiashile there. We've got Fafana who can play there as well. Chalobah as well. There's good
Chalobah,
utilities there. So
yeah.
And then possibly next season, Colwell can come back. I mean, we'll see. Colwell will probably want to play European football with Brighton as well this season. So yeah.
I mean, to be honest, Colwell didn't start that many games for Brighton. I think he only started 16 games. So, I mean, look, I don't know what opportunities he's going to get at Chelsea next season, how regularly he is really going to play. Is he really going to be chucked straight into the starting lineup? These are all questions that we'll have to wait and find out. Let me just get to a few more bits in the chat before we move on. Blake, don't worry, my guy. It's not school. You're not going to get told off. What else have we got here? Who do you guys see leading 100% regardless of the Poch pre-season? Dharmesh, who do you think? I mean, it's kind of obvious who's going to leave. Who will be right wing other than Madueke? I think it'll be Sterling and Madueke rotating on that right side, and then Mudryk. And I honestly do think we need another. We're going to have to find another versatile forward player, because really, if the players leave that we think are going to leave, then that only leaves us with three wingers. We will need one more.
Pulisic actually going to leave though?
Mate, I think so, bro. There's no way they're going to keep them. Mate, they're dead. They're honestly. No, I hope this doesn't happen. Ziyech don't want to be here. It's so clear that both of them don't want to be here. They haven't wanted to be here for the longest time possible. I honestly think we are going to be left with three wingers. Maybe we can get away with using someone like an Nkunku as an option to maybe just go there if necessary. But then we still need to sign someone, because if the players leave that we think are going to leave, then you're still down a 10 or a wide man. We need a player. I wouldn't be all on board for it. He may not want to come back to Chelsea. Chelsea can strictly purchase Caicedo. Yeah, I think we can strictly purchase Caicedo. Again, it depends how much it's going to cost, but I think we just got to give Brighton what they want with obviously within reason. Ziyech, Oba, Havertz, Chalobah, Aspie, Kovacic, maybe Mount. There could be more players. Even there's a lot of players still left to leave. What about Oba and Ziyech? Who wants them and can pay the high salaries? Well, I mean, to be honest, Oba could easily go to Saudi Arabia. I think Ziyech has been linked with Serie A and whatnot. There will be takers for these guys. Even if it means that we have to take like 10 million quid, or in Aubameyang's case, we just agree to terminate the contract. And he goes for nothing. I think on some occasions we are going to have to take that route, unfortunately, and that's just the reality of the situation.
We will make a lot of profit on a lot of players. I think we'll maybe one or two, maybe we might make some profit off Edouard Mendy. That's probably the only one I see making profit off, maybe. But there's not going to be too many. But yeah, ultimately, this is what happens when you get into a situation like we're in, is that some players you will get decent money for, but others you're not going to get anywhere near as much as you would like to have got or think you could get. And you just got to get the wages off the books and move on and ensure that you don't end up in a similar sort of situation that we're in right now. How much do you think we can get from player sales? I don't think we could easily get a couple of 100 million. I think let's just say Mount and Havertz.
Let's say we get 120 for Havertz and Mount.
Yeah. From then, I think
we get 200 million easy.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say as well. Around 200 if we're lucky, 220.
But that's in like 80 million, say, from the likes of Loftus-Cheek, Kovacic,
Chalobah, maybe
Pulisic, Ziyech, maybe Chalobah, maybe Gallagher as well. There's easily 200 to 230, I think.
Let's just say from 120. Say if we sell each player for about, let's just say minimum 10 million, and that will basically equate 200 million with the players that you listed. So if we somehow, and then obviously there'll be more from like players like Chalobah, because they'll cost about 25 or something. But yeah, I think roughly about 200. I think we can get.
Yeah,
that's a big if though. If we sell Mount and Havertz, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, well, one of them I think will definitely go.
Yeah,
I
for
mean,
sure.
how
Yeah,
mad
for
would it
sure.
be after all?
Oh,
A little bit
Charlie's
of a.
frozen, I think.
Oh no, we're good, bro. Sorry, we're back in the
Yeah.
room. Yeah, how mad would that be, mate? If they both actually ended up staying?
Yeah, bro. I honestly don't know. I'll be so surprised because the amount of talk that's been going on with the journalists, bro. Like, it's just mad how these guys are. Just honestly, it'd be crazy if they're still here come like next season or
Yeah,
something.
I mean, I can't see it happening. I could see one of them still being here, but definitely not two. I'd find that very strange. Let's move on to Ian Maatsen now. Obviously, he's had a couple of decent loan spells, one very good loan spell at Coventry, and then obviously a fantastic loan spell at Burnley this season under Vincent Kompany as they absolutely battered the Championship. Chelsea supposedly going to demand in excess of £20 million if we were going to sell Maatsen this summer. Burnley, of course, interested. I think there's teams in Holland potentially interested as well. It's a bit of a tricky situation for Maatsen because we've obviously got Chilwell, we've got Cucurella that we spent big money on last summer, and there's the emergence of Lewis Hall there as well. Now, you could argue that Maatsen does deserve his kind of chance in the first team, but you just can't see where he's going to play. And ultimately, there is still a small chance that he could sign a new deal and go back out on loan, but he'd have to sign a new deal if he's going to go on loan. But I just look at it with Maatsen and you just think with the players that are ahead of him, you just can't see where a chance is coming from. And it probably is better that we do cash in now. And what are your thoughts, Nick? Because I see a lot of people not too happy about him potentially moving on and that he deserves his chance in the team. And I get that point of view that he probably does deserve his chance having gone on multiple loans, proven himself. But ultimately, for me, mate, I just cannot see where he gets regular minutes at Chelsea.
Yeah, I think with Maatsen it's a bit of a tricky one because I think it all rests on how Cucurella does this season. Because if he's not performing well, if he has another terrible season, then we're all going to go back to sort of Maatsen and say, "Oh, we should have given him a chance. He would have been good." But then obviously we got Lewis Hall as well, and I've always said I think we do have to sell either one of them, either Lewis Hall or Maatsen. And it's looking at Maatsen obviously at the moment. He hasn't had any Premier League experience, so I don't know why people sort of want him to come straight to Chelsea because he's only played in the Championship. Realistically, let's just see. Like the difference with Levi Cole is he's actually done it in the Premier League for a season. He's absolutely done well. So let's just see how Maatsen does at Burnley this season. I mean, if Burnley if Burnley want to pay 25 million for him, I think we should absolutely take it. To be honest, and because we've never seen this guy play in the Premier League, let alone Chelsea, and if we get that sort of money, then why not? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, it does. I think it's just a slightly unfortunate. I mean, as I said, there's three players ahead of him, and whether you think Cucurella's good or not is kind of like Maatsen's not going to suddenly move ahead of a £50+ million summer signing last year. In the pecking order, that's just not really how it's going to work. I mean, mate, where do you stand on Cucurella? Because a lot of people don't seem to like him. A lot of people seemingly don't think he's very good. I'm always a bit, reticent on writing players off after one season. I think you've got to be very careful when you do that. I think he's definitely, for me, he deserves another chance this season. I mean, how would you view it? Because you also cannot see Chelsea getting anywhere near anything sort of respectable for Cucurella for a bid. The fact that we paid £63 million all in, or it could rise to that. You'd be lucky to get 30 million quid for him based off this season. So, I mean, where do you stand with Cucurella? Do you think he deserves another chance next season?
Yeah, I think he definitely does, and I think you were spot on right there about the fee. I think the fee is the big thing that people are so rattled about because obviously when you pay big money, you expect big performances, and I do think in some games this season he's really stepped up. Like I think the Dortmund game at home was his best performance.
He was really good in that. Really good
in that one. I think even at Tottenham at home, I know it was very start the season. I thought he was brilliant in that game as well. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what Poch does with Cucurella because he's not very attacking fullback. He's very much defensive fullback. So I don't know if he'd probably suit the Poch system at left back because I think he likes to play with more sort of attacking fullbacks.
Well, we've seen it with like Danny Rose and
Danny Rose, exactly.
Walker. I mean, Chilwell and James are obviously going to be the first choices, but I don't see why Cucurella couldn't be decent under Pochettino in a back four.
And yeah, I mean, yeah, you're spot on there. I mean, let's just see how he does. I mean, like I'm the same as you, bro. I give plays at least 2 seasons to sort of judge them properly. I've always said the same with Werner and Havertz, where I gave him obviously their first season as a sort of pass and then really judge them on the second season. I mean, if Cucurella is a backup left back, he might play a few cup games here and there. If he does well, he does well. That's fine. I'm happy for him to be second choice left back. Not really fussed about the money that we paid for him. I mean, I prefer Chilwell as an all-round player anyway compared to Cucurella. So, let's just see how he does this season and take it from there, man. But I do think he's been scapegoated a little bit too much.
Agreed.
In a way, when other players have been worse than him and performed worse than him, to be honest. So, yeah, I mean, we should all give Cucurella another chance. Even the booing stuff at grounds and stuff, I think that's. I don't think he deserves that at all.
I didn't get that at all. It was really strange. Let's get to a few guys. Let us know your thoughts on Cucurella in the chat. Fair, obviously, HG not a fan of Cucurella. Signed him for his hair. Yeah. Angel Pet Transport, big up, saying we should sell Cucurella ASAP. Jonathan really like Maatsen, just feel Chelsea lack physicality and he's pretty small. Maybe, but again, I think he's a good player. But ultimately, as you were saying, bro, like there's no way that he's never played in the Premier League, so you can't expect him to just suddenly come in and get a decent go in the side. It just doesn't work like that, unfortunately for him. All sports fan Adam, big up. Still think Havertz has a lot to offer. Still young and played wrong all season. Mount had a worse season himself. Would be adverse to selling both, but Mount isn't worthy of the 200k contract he desires. I don't know. Havertz has got a lot to offer as a footballer, but just not at Chelsea. It's 3 years now. It's not a small sample size. We have to stop making excuses for him. He's not delivered, and if we get a suitable offer, it's time to move on.
Tammy's done his ACL in, by the way.
Who has?
Tammy Abraham.
What for Roma?
Yeah, I believe so. Do you want to see a picture of it?
I'll probably be able to find it
if you can see it.
Yeah, mate, that's not ideal. That probably puts a bit of a spanner in the works of any potential summer move for him if he was going to have one. He won't. He won't play again this year.
Are they playing today, Roma? Just
they're on now. Right, they're on right now against Spezia, 1-1. Last game of Serie A season. The hair pull and some other incidents made him so insecure. Yeah, he had a robbery in his home as well. Obviously, that was towards the start of the season. You can't obviously keep using that for the whole season. But it's been tricky, but I think he absolutely deserves another opportunity. I can't see it working as he attributes and has shown it at Brighton and Getafe. Solid player, bit clumsy. Yeah, I agree. I think it can work out. And I think people nowadays are so quick to write players off and jump to conclusions if they don't instantly deliver. That's the problem of living in like a sort of a win at all costs, win right now kind of mentality situation, is that if someone comes in and they have a few poor games or they have a bad season, they're suddenly a shit player and they kind of almost get in a position where they're just like hounded out of the club. Like it's madness. Like obviously this time next season, if we're sitting here having the same conversation, and absolutely maybe we should be entertaining him moving on, but there's no two ways about it that he deserves another chance next season. Absolutely. No, Cucurella always lets the cross come in and woeful at left centre back too. I actually thought he had his best games at left centre back. Dortmund in the Champions League at home, and then Leicester away. He played left centre back as well, and he was really good. Cucurella may work with Mudryk because he doesn't like to overlap, giving Mudryk space potentially. I think Chelsea should give him one more chance for Cucurella next season. Agreed as well. Right, let's move away from in Maatsen stuff. Let's talk centre forwards. Dharmesh, what are your thoughts on the centre forward market, mate? Because obviously Ivan Toney would have been my choice, but that's not going to happen now. It's a little bit dry, the forward market, isn't it, in terms of the options that are available, and we desperately need one. I mean, who would you personally like to see come in? Because the options aren't. There's some good players, don't get me wrong, but there's no real outstanding options. I mean, Osimhen's the standout, but that's kind of it.
Yeah, the fact that I have to sort of think about it. I mean, you asked who I want to come in, and who I want to come in is Harry Kane, but there's a big but on that.
Yeah,
it's very unlikely it's going to happen, but that is a striker that I like at my football club, but we all know it's very unlikely to happen. I mean, you never say never, but it's going to be very difficult to deal with Daniel Levy. Obviously, with Poch coming in, it's going to be even more likely than before, but it's still very unlikely, if that makes sense. But yeah, there's Osimhen, there's Mitrovic possibly as well. I'd possibly keep an eye out on see the development of Evan Ferguson, see how he does at Brighton potentially.
Yeah, I mean, probably won't
See
get
how
him
he
this
does.
summer, but maybe next summer if he does really well again.
Yeah, so that's one to keep on. Obviously, the man you got in screw at now, Lautaro.
What are your
Not
thoughts on
not
him?
for me.
Because it's clear that Pochettino is a fan. From me, Felix reporting that Poch is still pushing heavily for Lautaro. Told that Poch has spoken to directors on how Lautaro would galvanise the attack in order to push the deal. He's directly spoken to his camp to inquire if Lautaro would be open to a move. He's being very direct. So it's clear that Pochettino is a fan of Lautaro Martinez, really wants him. And if that's the case, then we have to give the manager and back the manager with what he wants or do our best to do that. How do you see Lautaro Martinez fitting in at Chelsea? Because it's not really a profile of forward we've necessarily had much of at the club in the recent past. I mean, he very much plays in a front two. Well, he has done it Inter with Dzeko, with Lukaku. But he obviously can play up on his own as well. Poch obviously likes him, obviously has a clear plan for him. How would you feel about a move for Martinez to Chelsea?
I think it's a massive red flag, bro. I can't lie to you. I personally don't want him. I mean, if Poch wants him, if he somehow came to the club, then I mean, fair enough. I'll obviously back it and stuff and see how he does, but not for me, bro. I just see it as a massive red flag in terms of the way he plays. I think his style of play with playing with a second striker, I just don't think he'll work out at all for us, to be honest. That's just my opinion anyway. I think it's a massive red flag going for him, and I think he'll cost a lot for us as well. And we've been down this road before.
I mean, how much do you think he would cost?
But sorry,
how much do you think he would cost?
Well, I haven't really seen any news reports, but my automatic
any...
assumption would be about 50, 60 million, right? Or...
Yeah, but that's kind of the numbers that you.
But then you can get, but then you can possibly get Harry Kane for maybe 15, 20 million more than that.
No, Kane's going to be at least 100 million. And to be honest, with Benzema leaving Real Madrid, I think Madrid are going to go heavy on Kane. I would imagine.
Yeah, possibly, yeah, but
sure
I don't know, man. But for 50, 60 million, I'd rather get Mitrovic, who would probably cost a little bit less than him, to be honest, but just because he's Premier League proven, and I think that profile striker's worked for us in the past, and I think it can under Pochettino now. But yeah, I'm not a fan of Lautaro, man. I can't lie to you. I don't know. I mean, if he does come in, he proves me wrong. Fair enough. I'll hold my hands up and say I was wrong, but I just think it's a massive red flag going for him, to be honest.
No, fair. What have we got in the chat here? By the way, guys, we're still 3 likes short of the 50 likes. So please smash the likes, hover over that thumb button, give it a little click. It massively helps me out. It spreads the stream to more people. 3 more likes to 50, guys. So just give that like button a press. It really helps me out. Let's get this past the 50 likes marks, people. There's definitely a few of you in here that haven't smashed the like button. So please do so and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. Let's get this to 50 likes and beyond, guys. What were people saying in the chat? I'd go for Martinez at Inter Milan for striker. Have a feeling we're going to go big on a striker. Yeah, but who are we going to go big on? The big one's Osimhen. I mean, are we really? Is that what we're looking at? I don't know. Really glad to hear the news on Broja. Really liked him before his injury. Lacks experience, but is fast and big. Yeah, no, he is. Madrid want Kane and Santiago Jimenez from Feyenoord. We should get one of them. And Poch wants Lautaro. Poch wants Lautaro. Let's get him Lautaro if that's what he wants. Victor Osimhen should be our only target for number 9, as Drogba was for Mourinho back in the day. I mean, what do you think of Osimhen? Let me just get to a few more bits in the chat here. Personally, I like Mitrovic, but I see constant links to Rasmus Højlund as well. Vlahovic. Ferguson's a brilliant young player. Would love to see him, but don't see him sold this summer. Absolutely. Just feel Lautaro is a second striker. We don't need that. Martinez has too many flaws and seems like a second striker. I like Kolo Muani, but again, 100 million euros for Kolo Muani is pretty steep as well. We can't be paying that sort of money. Inter will want 80 million. But again, Inter are open to player swap deals and cash and sort of stuff like that as well. So we could easily use Lukaku and cash, or if they want Edouard Mendy, which has been reported as well, then there's room to involve players there. They've been linked with Trevor Chalobah as well. So we have got options to try and bring that fee down. Jonathan agrees with you on this one, bro. I'm on the Mitrovic train, big target up top, proven scorer in the Prem. He wants the ball and good movement and has that roughness we lack. No, he's definitely a physical presence and would get up in people's faces. Surprised we haven't been linked to any young players. We have been linked with Rasmus Højlund at Atalanta, but other than that, there's not been too many.
What Lukaku, bro?
Well, I don't think he wants to be here. So it's kind of a no-goer, really. I mean, what are your thoughts on Osimhen? Because a move for Osimhen is going to cost well in excess of over 100 million euros. I mean, where do you stand on a potential move for him?
I think very overpriced, bro. I won't lie to you. I just think that's another red flag as well, to be honest. Osimhen. I mean, I think he's better than sort of Lautaro, but the amount of money you'd have to pay for him, I just don't see. I just don't see he's worth paying that much. But where you can go for like a Vlahovic or a Mitrovic,
I
for
mean,
example,
I think the reason why it's going to be so much though is that Napoli paid Lille 80 million euros for him, like not so long ago, and he's had a phenomenal season, and his value is going to be almost double that. I honestly do think, mate, it's going to be it'll take 120, 130 million euros to get Osimhen out of Napoli. I mean, maybe with Spalletti leaving, that makes him more likely to leave potentially. I'm not too sure. Does he want to leave? I don't know. He's obviously adored in that city. They just won the Serie A for the first time since 1990. He's still young. Maybe another season in Naples wouldn't be the worst thing in the world for him. But how do you see him potentially doing at Chelsea? Because he is a little bit like Drogba in his stature and his physique. He's definitely the profile of striker we've had success with in the past. But my only worry is, again, another big money striker coming in at Chelsea. No big money signings at Chelsea, particularly in that centre forward department, have seemingly worked well. I mean, do you think he's got the attributes to actually be a success at Chelsea?
Attributes, yes, but I think the main thing that's putting me off it is the price, to be honest with you. And yeah, I think it's purely just the price, bro, for Osimhen, where we can strengthen in other areas, because we obviously need a goalkeeper. Like you said, we need another 10, another potential winger as well. And sort of spending that kind of money on a striker who's good, don't get me wrong, but there's obviously a couple better out there that we can get for maybe cheaper, arguably. So yeah, I just don't see it, to be honest. But I think the attributes are there. Like, he's a very Drogba sort of player, be great for us. But in this market, bro, I just think it's a lot of money.
I mean, how do you think we're gonna set up attacking wise next season? I mean, it looks like Portugal, the 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3, something like that. Do you think we're going to go like classic old school 2 out and out wingers with kind of a big centre forward, or do you think it's going to be a little bit more intricate, a bit more versatile than that? Because we saw, if you look at Poch at Tottenham, see Kane up front, Son, Ali, Eriksen, Dembele, Walker, and Rose bombing on. I mean, how do you see us utilising the front three spaces?
Yeah, it'll be an interesting one. I think it'll be a mix of both, to be honest. I see players like Mudryk and Madueke being more sort of starters for us.
Yeah.
And then like Raheem Sterling could potentially play that number 10 position. We haven't really mentioned Sterling in that 10 position.
Possible, yeah, possibly.
He could be an option as well. And I think they'll interchange more, and especially with the 4-3-3, if we do play that, then I think they'll all interchange in a way. So yeah, that's how I sort of see it. I see obviously Enzo and possibly Ugarte as our sort of two midfielders, then having the same, let's just say, for example, Mudryk, Maddison, and Madueke as our wingers, and then let's just say Harry Kane up front, for example. Obviously, very hypothetical sort of team, but that's the sort of thing I see us lining up with. Or yeah,
I mean, it's definitely going to be it's going to be interesting what happens. I mean, there's a lot of love for fucking Mitrovic in the chat.
I think it's everyone's back up to Tony.
Yeah, I've already said that one. I heard Munich are close to an agreement for Muani. I wouldn't be surprised if Bayern potentially got Muani, but again, they've got strong links with Dusan Vlahovic. They could maybe go for Osimhen, but probably be too expensive for them. I'd want Mitrovic or Vlahovic, proper centre forwards. Again, Juve have no Champions League football, may need to sell potentially. I don't want to spend another 150 million on a striker. No, I don't want to either. Mitrovic would hit the ground running. You'd like to think so. I think Osimhen is overpriced. Napoli aren't really a good team to play ball with on transfers. No, they're really hard to negotiate with and get deals through. They'll get as much money as they possibly can. Lucas Levi saying Mitrovic is a good take, but will he suit how the coach wants to play? This is the big thing. Like, what does Pochettino look for in a centre forward, really? Because obviously at PSG, you've got Neymar, Mbappe, Messi, which is kind of a madness. But then at Tottenham, he had Harry Kane as the main guy. Yes, obviously Kane wasn't what he is now under Poch, but he developed and was really good. He had Ali chipping in with goals. He had Son scoring goals as well. But there wasn't really. I guess Kane is is obviously his standout guy. But yeah, it's going to be interesting what sort of a striker situation Poch finds himself in. Mitrovic is a good take. Oh, I've just done that. I hope up top it can be more traditional, but that's not Poch's style. No, I don't think it is either. Do you think Pochettino will play back three or back four? I think it's looking like a back four to me, with the players we're targeting. But again, I wouldn't be surprised if in certain games we also played a back three. But I think the plan is going to be back four. Højlund's coming to Old Trafford, maybe. To be honest, I don't know if Højlund is the answer necessarily. It's another young striker, relatively unproven still outside of Serie A, 20 years of age. It's a massive step up to the Premier League. I don't really know how much that's really moving the needle for a club like Man United or for that fact Chelsea either. Mate, what are your thoughts just briefly to round out on the goalkeeping situation? Would Onana be that guy for you?
Yeah, I mean, I've said that I wanted Ter Stegen as the goalkeeper, but that's looking like it's very unlikely. But if I had to pick another choice, it'd be between, I think, Onana and probably Emi Martinez as the goalkeeping choice. I mean, let's just see what happens over the course of the summer, I guess, because I think goalkeeping situation will drag out, I think, for the summer, because I think especially the Emi Martinez deal, I think that'll be a tough one to negotiate with. But with Onana, it seems pretty simple, maybe, to deal with. It costs 25 million, right?
Well, Inter are keen on Edouard Mendy as well, so we could get some sort of player cash deal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's that. But yeah, I think Onana's looking the most likely to come to us. But yeah, I've said my stance on who I personally want as the goalkeeping.
Yeah,
goalkeeper. I haven't seen much of Onana, but yeah.
I mean, look, if the club want Onana and that's what they've decided to do, then we just have to back it and we just have to trust those people. It's kind of as simple as that, really, as far as I'm concerned. Yes, I've got my personal preferences that I would prefer, but ultimately, we need to start trusting the club and trusting the footballing people to get these decisions right. And then we just have to go from there and just roll with the ride and kind of see what happens. I'd take Mitrovic. Wouldn't cost astronomical sum, and he's underrated in his attributes we need. Proven goal scorer, he is. Yeah, no, he is. I don't hate it. Expensive strikers will not work here at Chelsea. The crown will be too heavy for this TikTok generation. 3 games without scoring, and our fan base will turn, and that's basically game over. Yeah, I do agree on that. Yeah, Diogo Costa at Porto. Yeah, again, he's got £65 million release clause. It's just too much money to be spending on a goalkeeper. It really is, in my opinion. I don't get what is this one? I don't get the sudden Mitrovic loving. He's a decent striker, but I'm not sure he's the elite level. I'd rather get no one and wait than cut corners. Look, Broja's going to be the backup striker, so we do need a first choice centre forward. But it's going to be really interesting to see who we do ultimately end up going for. But I'm not too sure. I really don't know what's going to happen on that one. Do you think Onana will be number 1 goalkeeper or number 2 next season? I think if we're signing a goalkeeper, surely it's going to be a number 1. Has to be number 1. You're not going to. Onana's not going to leave the number 1 at Inter Milan to be number 2 at Chelsea. He'd be very much signing to be the number 1. So yeah, I mean, let me just check if there's any other news knocking about, guys in the chat. If you've got any questions you want to ask, mate, what are your thoughts on? Oh, this is just some stuff coming in now. What would you do with N'Golo Kante? He's got obviously offers from Saudi Arabia. I mean, are you concerned that, the contract talks have seemingly dried up? Saudi clubs are trying to tempt him. Aubameyang also has 2 proposals from Saudi Arabia as well. Saudi obviously doing a madness right now, bro. Kante, how do you think what are your thoughts on that? Do you think we desperately need to keep him?
I mean, if we end up getting Moises Caicedo, then I wouldn't sort of too be bothered on N'Golo Kante. But I think we'll lose that sort of experience in midfield, which I'm worried about in a way. But I think if we end up getting Moises Caicedo as a sort of like return gift, then yeah, I wouldn't be too sort of fussed. But as I said, yeah, the experience in midfield will be lacking quite a lot. And yeah, it's good that Kante won't be going to a rival. At least we know that. He's definitely a club legend. For us as well, and it's just a shame that we didn't equip for him at the time in terms of giving that support in midfield where he could have been resting loads of games and not run to the ground like he is already. So
we've massively mistreated him a number of times. So many times, so many managers have just rushed him back when he's clearly not been fit. He's picked up a lot of injuries. His body's kind of I think his style of play is kind of catching up with his body. And look, if he were to go to Saudi, it'd be a bit of a shame, but ultimately it's better than him going to another Premier League team.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's the Saudi situation is kind of mad, you know, like Benzema's going to go there. Looks like Messi might go there as well.
Aubameyang as well had 2
Aubameyang
proposals
maybe,
as well.
Kante maybe, Busquets could go, Sergio Ramos. Like they're not fucking about. They're not fucking about in Saudi.
It's turning into MLS a little bit. Where do you remember all the big names used to go to MLS, and now it's
Chinese league as well.
Yeah, but now I think it's the Saudi league's the new sort of.
But what I would say about the Saudi league that's going to be different to like China and that is that they've actually got the money to keep it going.
Yeah,
like it's not going to be like China where like they did it all and then they were kind of fucked after a few years of it happening. They just couldn't keep it going. Saudi just got unlimited money to pump into this, and you know you could see a lot of players going there. Let me just get to the last few bits in the chat and then we'll round this one out. Giorgio Mamadashvili is a giant, as an emerging target also, in Valencia are a club who sell. Yeah, again, I know Chelsea have sent scouts to watch him play, but I don't really know how good he is. The Valencia keeper, he's a Georgian international. To be honest, mate, I don't think I've ever watched him play, but I know who he is, but I've never seen him play. Anana is Pickford with better ball playing ability. Anana's hungry for spotlight like Pickford.
Would you take Pickford?
No. I don't like him. I don't think he's that great.
Same, yeah. I wouldn't either, to be honest. Yeah.
Looks like Kante is off to Al Ittihad. The Saudi League is throwing a lot of money around now. Yeah, no, it absolutely is. So yeah, that looks like a good point to round out. I think we've pretty much covered all the latest stuff that is going on with the Chelsea transfer scene. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. As always, massively appreciate each and every single one of you in the chat. You know, these streams are nothing without you guys getting involved, so I do really appreciate it. Dharmesh, thanks for coming. As always, bro, appreciate your time. Thanks for coming. And guys, I'll be back again tomorrow with another transfer update. Let's wait and see what's going to happen tomorrow. Guys, make sure you follow Dharmesh on Twitter on the screen right now and linked in the description. From myself, people, make sure you smash the likes on the way out. It massively helps me out. Run the likes up. Subscribe to the channel if you're new around here as well. On the way to 4,000 subscribers. Hoping to get there by the start of the season. Slightly ambitious target, but we can definitely do it. I'm going to be coming every day, if possible, to bring you all the latest transfer news with loads of different guests along the way. So make sure you stay locked into the channel for all the latest Chelsea transfer news. Smash the likes on the way out. Subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. Enjoy the rest of your weekends wherever you are in the world, guys. And I'll catch you again at some point tomorrow. Up the Chelsea. Peace out, people.